If people think that because they need money, they get funding, that's a la la land. As an entrepreneur, you get funding because your ship is sailing and other people want to be part of it, whether it's investors, employees, industry experts, and other people who's going to fuel your growth. Welcome again to US Market Entry Mastery webinar. We're going to talk about 4 biggest mistakes that founders make when entering US market. And of course, those are the very mistakes that some of you might be making or about to make. And so that's something we really, really want to avoid. I am excited about today's US Market Entry Mastery because it is the topic that is near and dear to my heart. And not only because immigrant founders are truly some of the best folks out there in terms of their resilience, their drive to succeed. They really understand what it takes to be successful, but also because I'm an immigrant founder, originally from Ukraine, and someone who went the whole entrepreneurial journey from idea to exit. I scaled a company called ClassTag Educational Software to 5 million users in the United States, raised $12 million in funding and sold that business last year. And now I'm a CEO of Elevator Lab, where we help founders grow with confidence and without borders. And of course, supporting immigrant founders, international founders like myself, is a special treat because I'm one of you. And I know that everything is possible when you have the right ingredients. I also, early in my journey, was really blessed with some tremendous support from a mentor. And that's my way to give back and know how important mentorship is. And so that's the mission of Elevator Lab, to help other founders grow. All right. Now on to the 4 mistakes that founders make when entering US market. Mistake number 1, US market is a dragon. Well, it is huge. It is competitive, right? And so that's why many folks think it's a dragon. But I can tell you from my own experience that this is the kind of dragon that can be won over. And so if you want to fight the dragon, if you want to expand in US and grow a massive business and achieve your goals and dreams, that's exactly the kind of beast that we're going to tackle today. And so what that means, right? What that mistake effectively makes you feel, right? It makes you feel overwhelmed, not knowing where to start, right? Obviously, US market is huge, right? 320 million people, billions of dollars in pretty much every market you are looking to enter. And it can be overwhelming. Many competitors, well-funded, massive rounds, right? Where do you start? And so that's, I think, exactly the mistake, because US, because it's so big, is many smaller markets. And as folks here like to say, riches are in the niches. And so that's really where your ability to find that critical segment is going to really make or break your business in the United States. And so what that means is not really looking at the whole market and saying, hey, I'm going to attack US, because that can be really expensive and really deadly. What you want to do is figure out where is your moat, where is your Trojan horse, to focus on that ideal persona and value proposition for that persona. And as some of you might know, there are states in the United States like Texas, California, New York, etc., that are bigger than many countries. And so there is not only opportunity to think of segments, but also opportunity in many B2B segments in particular, or B2C areas where density matters, to think of it as a regional rollout or regional play. And so I can share my own experience. When I was building ClassTag, we built a software platform to help parents and teachers to communicate. And so, of course, the natural entry point might be over 3 million US teachers, right? But when you look at these teachers, it's again a huge market that is overwhelming. How the heck do you build a product that is perfect for over 3 million people? And so, what we did instead is really zoomed into that core persona, which in our case were teachers not only in elementary schools, but specifically K through second grade, because in those areas they don't use learning management systems yet. And then focus on those that are serving diverse populations, foreign immigrant families, etc. In public education system in U.S., it's called Title I schools typically. And so what that allowed us to do is to gain tremendous clarity on how to build and evolve our product, how to gain traction, and really be the best product for that specific persona in a very competitive market where we had 3 very well-funded competitors, hundreds probably of others that never saw the light of day. But we were so focused that we built truly the best product that teachers of that specific kind were raving about. And so that helped us scale to 5 million users and do that by building really the best product. So the second one is a really, really important one. So I love the phrase, start before you're ready. And I am fully subscribing to that. But when it comes to fundraising as an immigrant or international founder, raising before you're ready is a no-no. It's a massive waste of time and it's just not going to lead anywhere. So rather than trying to raise as an immigrant or international founder before you gain traction in the United States, you have to focus on that early traction. And so I know there are folks that are helping maybe in your native markets, accelerator programs, connecting with U.S. investors and whatnot. Success rate on fundraising in this economic climate is even lower than in general, which is, of course, there is this very small percentage of startups that get funding at all. And so that's why it's so important that you really step your steps. So you don't waste your valuable time doing something, trying to raise when all you need is that early traction in market. And so that's really where the big time waste goes. And obviously, when a startup is wasting time, they end up with no money and no traction. And that's not a situation that any founder wants to be in. So how do you gain that first traction in the United States, right? And so that's really the subject for a whole separate webinar about gaining those first customers. But I did want to share with you a few tidbits so you can take that with you. And so to gain early traction, really there are a couple of things. One of them is lean into your affinity groups, right? So for me, for example, on the B2C side, when my daughter was small, who got me into this parent school business in the first place, I was part of many mommy groups and Russian speaking, Ukrainian speaking, etc. And that allowed me to leverage those connections I've built, the trust I've built to get into the schools of those respective parents. So on B2C side, it's effective to use communities, digital or offline communities. On B2B side, you can simply go to LinkedIn and filter for languages, right? Let's say you are joining from LATAM and maybe you speak Portuguese. So go and filter for Portuguese and whatever the titles are and reach out, right? And so those early people are the ones who will need to take a bet on you, right? And so if you have something in common, such as language, such as your country of origin, it certainly is going to go a long way. So that's another tip for you. But again, it is critical that you show signals in the market. Pilots, paid ideally, early customers, lead generation, momentum, right? Nobody gets funded because they need money. If people think that because they need money, they get funding, that's a la la land, right? So as an entrepreneur, you get funding because your ship is sailing and other people want to be part of it, whether it's investors, employees, industry experts, and other people who's going to fuel your growth. So don't live in la la land. Focus on that early traction and raise to accelerate that traction, not to gain it. All right. Mistake number 3. Many founders entering US come to me and say, okay, I have it all figured out. I have this big shot US salesperson that I'm going to hire and they're going to magically build this US market for me. A big no-no. I have seen so many folks get burned. And frankly, including myself, I started with the founder-led sale and introduced this big shot salesperson still at the early stage of the business, and unfortunately fired not one, but 2 of them. And that actually saw my business triple with folks that were ready to knock on doors, roll up their sleeves, and do the work. And that's really key because no one in the whole world wants this startup of yours to succeed more than you do. And that's why the first sales have to be founder-led. You live and breathe that mission. You can learn to sell, or if you don't know yet how to sell, that's certainly a core skill, whether it's marketing or sales. It's all sales, right? You're selling all day long as a founder to everyone you meet. And that's why it's so critical to really feel the market, to be there, right? See what's working, what's not, how long does it really take to close a deal? What are the obstacles to overcome? And that allows you to really iterate on the model. And then you can start building and scaling the team, but not in those early days. Nobody's going to go all in and do whatever it takes. And that's what it takes to really gain that first traction. So no big shot US salespeople with huge Rolodex. Start yourself. I know it's uncomfortable and it's good to hide behind someone who seems to have authority, but that strategy fails many more times than it works. All right. So we talked about 3 mistakes, and now we are on number 4, which I think is the biggest misconception of all. What I'm hearing and get very disappointed by international immigrant founders is they are concerned about their accent. They are concerned about being immigrant and not being able to do something just because they're an immigrant. Who's going to trust? Because the company is an international company, or they have this awkward accent or whatever that is, right? This is simply a limiting belief that's on you if you feel that way, right? I know from my own experience that that's just something that can be overcome and frankly can be actually leveraged, right? And so if you think about your accent, you sound different. Name Vlada. I bet, when I was cold calling in the early days, there are very few folks that were receiving calls from someone with that name, right? So it's your uniqueness. And so that makes it much easier for you to be remembered. And in fact, I recall calling principals in the early days, and there was actually one of our very first customers. He every time I called him, he's like, "Oh, again, this Ukrainian lady. Like, what do you want, right, or something?" And so it really created this connection and more personal touch. And yes, he took a bet on us. Even though, we were just starting and we didn't have any proof points with the customers, etc. So don't put the limiting beliefs on yourself. Other people will put you in the boxes and give you 6,000 reasons why you will not succeed. Don't do it for yourself, right? Just know that everything is possible and you will do it, and leverage your strength, embrace your accent, and just be yourself and talk about it, right? Not as an immigrant founder, you're a founder. And there are very few people who have the guts and willing to do the work that it takes to actually see their company succeed. So be proud of that and lean in and don't hold yourself back. All right. So we talked about 4 biggest mistakes. So again, the first one is US market is a beast and it's very competitive and huge and overwhelming. So here we focus on ideal persona and find this Trojan horse to get into the market. Number 2, we talk about raising before you're ready. And this is where really founders need to focus on gaining that early traction before they start fundraising from US investors. Otherwise, they waste their time and that can be deadly. Number 3 is not relying on this big shot US salesperson. You are your best salesperson, or you have to be. And number 4, being an immigrant, having an accent is your strategic asset. So don't hold yourself back. All right. So before we turn to questions, I do want to say that for those folks who are really serious about taking action, growing in the United States, I am offering a free growth session to help you accelerate growth and tailor the advice to your specific situation, as well as really evaluate if you are a good fit for Elevator Lab and if we want to work together. Of course, when we work with founders, we go all in. So it's not only content and one-on-one mentorship, but it's also connections. It's also introductions. It's also just leveraging all the experience and access to the market that was built over the years. And so we don't work with all founders. We work with action takers who are willing to put the hard work and who want to succeed and do whatever it takes. So that's that. So in order to get access to this free growth session, please DM me on LinkedIn, write a direct message and say growth, and I'll follow up with an invite to schedule time for your free growth session. And I'm excited to meet you action takers who are looking to grow and scale in the United States. Fantastic. Well, I know we have a lot of questions, so I did want to bring up my colleague, Ewa, who is leading growth at Elevator Lab and working with founders as well, to help me see the questions.
Hi.
Hey, Ewa. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Yes, hello, and greetings from Costa Rica. I'm Ewa, and I spent the last 12 years working in various growth roles at startups in the UK and the US, and the last whole 7 years with Vlada at ClassTag, which was acquired, and now supporting founders at Elevator Lab.
Amazing. Ewa is a true asset to any entrepreneur in their journey, and certainly was a critical part of our success at ClassTag. So excited to be working together. And Ewa, I started with the first question about what happens when you have a core market and you need to continue growing that. How do you take resources away, and how does the founder balances that? And I think this is a really, really important question. And so there is no magic pill here, right? The only way to enter a complex market like US that has a huge promise, but also takes a lot of diligence and hard work, is to have a reliable partner in the core business in the home country, right? If it's not a global scaling, if it's more of a kind of country to country entrance. And so that's why, if you have a right hand, if you, maybe it's a head of product who can take that role, head of sales, COO, other folks who've been with you. But of course, it's only possible if you have already processes in place so that the machine can work, right? Not that you will have to dedicate 100% of your time, but those early stages are so critical that if you're trying to sit on two chairs at the same time and you don't have a really strong support in your home country, it's not going to be possible to be successful. So I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Eva, other questions that you're seeing from folks?
Yes, we have a question from Jess. And Jess is asking, in building a supportive community around my brand, what concrete actions can I take to foster engagement, loyalty, and advocacy among American customers?
Yeah, that's an amazing question. And certainly I would say when I was starting ClassTag, building a community before building a product was a really innovative approach. Now I almost feel it's table stakes, right? I think now, if you look at folks like Figma, if you look at so many examples, right? How competitive are these different products or product categories, right? And so what differentiates you really is that brand. And so the way you do it in practical terms, how Jess is asking, is actually first not selling anything. And I think that's exactly what I initially did with teachers, right? So I approached them to be my kind of design partners. I asked them about their needs. I asked them about their workflows, their challenges, right? And then I worked with them to integrate it. And by the way, I updated them on a monthly basis about our progress, right? Because people help those, right, who, when they feel part of it, right? And so I think that a concrete example would be to have a number of folks both in a kind of private offline domain as well as public domain, right? Building in public is a great way to achieve that as well. Anything you would add, Eva?
I totally agree. I think we also had great results with a private Facebook community, and the key was exactly not selling, but using that community to support early users and really engage with them, and then and really listen, even if sometimes the feedback was challenging.
Absolutely.
Taking it all on board.
Yes, exactly. And I think the other thing I think that's critical is that as a founder, you get so much feedback. Feedback is coming from everywhere, right? Every guru that never built a business in their life, every customer or your mom or anyone, right? But I'm a big believer that the only feedback that truly matters, right, beyond, of course, sort of mentorship that helps accelerate your journey, is the feedback from your customers, right? So when founders ask me, oh, I am building this and this, do you like it? If I'm not the target customer, who cares? Right? It is not up to me to decide. If you have customers who are willing to show you commitment, vote with their dollars, with their, whatever other form of commitment you're requiring, that's the only thing that matters. So I think in building that community, you have to be very thoughtful about how to filter that feedback. So you don't see the forest, the trees from the forest, right? Or forest from the trees, right? You are somewhere sort of lost in the piles of feedback and you don't know what to act on, right? So act on the feedback from your core persona, your core customers that are showing commitment.
So we can do one more?
Yes, I think we have a minute left. Let's do one more.
Yes. So one other question that is coming up a lot, I think, with the entrepreneurs that we work with is about, so I'm a founder, I want to enter the US, I'm really excited about it, but my investors are not so sure how to get them on board and how to sort of sell that idea to all the other stakeholders and investors in particular.
Yeah, that's a great question. And I think the common mistake here is people have this grand launch or grand entry that requires millions of dollars, right? And yes, that's scary for investors because you're, going again to, completely unknown and saying, I'm going to bet my whole house on that thing. Right. And so that just, it's just not really smart. Right. What you do is you go through iterations, right? So you dip your toe, right? You find, yes, you need to do that customer discovery. That's absolutely critical. And even if you're outside of United States, going to conferences, connecting with people, mastering that customer development process is absolutely critical. And then, from there, again, it goes back to getting that early traction, because getting investors on board, when you have growth, when you have traction, that's a whole different story from, hey, I have this dream. We're going to go there. It costs you $6 million and, wire the money here, right? That's a, Cinderella or La La Land or whatever story, whatever your fairy tale story is. It just doesn't work like that. And so don't wait, take action. If that's what you want to do strategically, you can start doing it very cost effectively if you are really smart about that customer development process, and do things that don't scale, right? As they say, right? How to sort of hack and get to those first customers who are going to trust you. And we talked about it in the webinar today briefly as well. Amazing. Well, I think we're on time. That's a wrap. Again, folks, for those of you who are watching this, if you haven't, I've seen lots of DMs coming to my inbox. But if you have not DM'd me yet with the word grow, so I know you've watched this webinar and you're an action taker and you're serious about growing the US, I'm excited to offer a free growth session and advice and tips about scaling in the United States, and explore if you might be a fit for Elevator program. And I think we call it a day. Thank you guys for joining. It was a true pleasure. I wish you all the best. And please, if you're not following a newsletter or a podcast, we have a tech startup founder newsletter on LinkedIn that comes out weekly, as well as the podcast with various founders and industry experts to, again, elevate your journey. Those are great resources. And so for those of you who would learn, or for those of you who are not quite ready to scale, those are great ongoing resources to continue to support you. Amazing. Thank you, guys.